Any residual? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Then we get abandoned after the swearing in. You guys doing?
At least we don't have a budget hearing because that's what. Good evening. I call this city council meeting to order. May I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Elliott.
Here.
Councilmember Fitzhenry.
Here.
Councilmember Sandal.
Here.
Councilmember Rogie is absent this evening, and Mayor Gotel.
Here. Do we have anyone for the open forum? Would everybody please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It's so nice to see a full house here. And I know you're all going to leave soon. You won't even stay. Especially with those budget meetings after this. Nobody stays. At this time, I'd ask the City Council's approval of the minutes of the special City Council work session of November 13th, 2012, and the regular City Council meeting of November 13th, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tonight we have presentations, and this is a great night as we look at swearing in Richfield City officers, David Mast, Kevin Blanchard, and Aaron Hoyam, and Casey Sisson.
Yes.
I'll leave it over to our Director of Public Safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council members. It's with great pleasure tonight I want to introduce you to 4 of our newest officers and go through the swearing-in ceremony. And it's also a great pleasure to announce that with the hiring of these 4 officers, we have now reached our authorized strength of 45 licensed officers, which is the first time in several years now that we've been able to get up to full strength. So I'm going to bring them up, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. Come on up. You can face the council for this part. First, we have Officer David Mast. Officer Mast comes to us from Coon Rapids. David received his Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Phoenix. And prior to joining the Richfield Police Department, David was a reserve deputy with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office. Next, we have, standing next to David, we have Kevin Blanchard. Kevin Blanchard comes to us from White Bear Lake. He received a Bachelor of Arts degree in criminology from the University of Minnesota, Duluth. Kevin is also working towards his master's degree in law enforcement at St. Cloud State University, which he told me tonight he'll be graduating in December. Kevin has experience as a St. Paul Police Department Reserve officer and also as a firefighter with the City of White Bear Lake and the Roseville Fire Departments. Next to Kevin, we have Aaron Hoyam. Aaron comes to us from Brooklyn Park. Aaron received her Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from the University of Minnesota. Aaron also worked as a reserve deputy with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office and was a park patrol volunteer with the Three River Park District. And finally, a familiar face to some of you around here, we have Cassie Sisson from here, but Cassie comes to us from Rosemont. Cassie graduated from the University of Minnesota with a Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology. Cassie started her public safety career in Rosemont, Minnesota as a CSO, and then we are fortunate enough to hire Cassie as a CSO for the City of Richfield. She went on to become our police cadet and just recently was promoted to the position of police officer. That's our new recruits. If I could have the 4 of you turn and face me. Could I have you raise your right hand? I state your name. Do solemnly swear to support the constitutions and the laws of the United States the state of Minnesota, the charter and ordinances of the city of Richfield, and to discharge faithfully the duties devolving upon me as a police officer for the city of Richfield, to do this to the best of my judgment and ability. Congratulations.
That's always exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's wonderful. I'm sure all you folks are glad to be here. Go ahead and go
Bye, folks.
visit with them and enjoy them and celebrate with them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I see they're up to 190 now.
Isn't that one?
Well, you'll have to explain
I was
that.
99, so they're almost lapping me.
Okay, all right. They look younger all the time.
Yeah,
Tom,
I should-
too, I know. Pastor Wagner, it's good to see you.
44.
It's all same number. Or by and large. That looks like a more like normal number.
Yeah, it's always an exciting time, isn't it, to see that? Well, as the crowd is kind of wandering out, I'm going to do the round robin here on council discussion. Councilmember Elliott, can I start with you?
You may. I'm just going to go to the hats off the hometown heroes, and I want to salute Councilmember Fitzhenry for the yeoman duty he did over the last 18 to 20 months for the Noise Oversight Committee. He represented the community in a forthright, straightforward manner, managed to be heard, managed to communicate back to the citizens what he was trying to do and what he was trying to help with in terms of the Noise Oversight Committee. He accomplished his goals and was instrumental in getting the RNAV implemented, or at least put in place, subject to a vote that somewhat disappointingly went against us. But I want to thank Tom, because I know that you came on the council the same time I did, and you put an enormous amount of time in that, trying to better the conditions for not only just your ward in Richfield, but the entire community. And we were well on our way. We kind of hit a bump in the road with some disputes from people who claimed they didn't have a seat at the table, but I'm not going to get into the politics of that. But the simple fact of the matter is what was proposed and voted down this last time is going to be proposed again, and it's going to get voted in, and your work's going to be rewarded, and I really appreciate what you've done for the city.
Thank you.
Councilmember Sandal?
I just wanted to bring up one thing in terms of we will have a new council member joining us in January.
Correct.
And to make sure that we get as early as possible, get scheduled a goal-setting session so that, you know, we ran into all sorts of conflicts last year and the year before, and hopefully we won't have quite so many this year.
Yes.
To try and get that scheduled as early as we can. We could start in
We
December.
could start sending out some thoughts of dates
Yeah,
for January, February timeframe.
preferably January. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
No.
it's been in as late as February, but yeah, whatever we can work for goals.
Okay.
Okay, Councilmember?
Do you mind if I go to the podium? I got some.
We've
I
already
got
talked
some
about
things to
this.
show.
We're gonna continue some conversation around the noise issue. City manager.
Hopefully well, maybe it'll wash out. It'll be close. What I wanted to show, we've had a number of residents ask what we were trying to do with the RNAV. And the truth is, we're not trying to send any more planes over any particular neighborhoods. We were trying to, if people remember, the normal departure for runway 30 left, if they were going to go over Richfield, sent them over the crosstown, which is this line I've drawn here. Well, what happened in 2009 when we had a near miss and FAA decided, well, the turns are too close, they changed them, and what they basically did is, if you look at this map, on departure, they give them a heading of either 260 265, not a 270. And what it did is virtually after they took off and got to 1,500 feet, they were already doing their turns. And as you see, we have some lines here that actually put it over areas that weren't mitigated or not even close. So what we were trying to do is get them back on path. Now, RNAV, all it really was an electronic path that the planes could follow, because things that affect these lines that are coming into Richfield are the winds. When you give a pilot a heading and they had 260, 265 or whatever, if the winds are strong enough up there, they do not correct themselves to fly along the crosstown. They take that compass heading and fly it, and the winds push them south. Or they do different things. And also, when they reached altitude, a lot of times they were able to turn as soon as they hit 1,500 feet. We've even seen them as close as Nicollet Avenue doing a turn. And like I commented at the MAC meeting, that our city manager now gets the enjoyment of watching planes come over his office. So that's what we were trying to do, is not really put them over another community or to change anybody's path, so we're going to send them over anybody's house, but to be more defined. And another plus for the RNAV, the controllers wouldn't have to talk to them, and the ability to climb faster would be there. So as they go out, they could maintain, or they could climb at a higher altitude, so the sound would get less as they moved out in the other cities. So it would have been a plus for the other cities too, especially Edina and Minneapolis, you know, further away, because they would have been at a higher altitude. So that's about RNAV. And the other thing I wanted to put up here, especially for the east side, we're not going to be accused of notifying you anymore. We're going to have a band shell meeting, and it's about the band shell at Vets Park. I encourage everybody on the east side, especially 66th Street, to attend this and put your input in. It's going to be Thursday, the 29th at 7 p.m., and where they're proposing it is next to the ice arena. The band shell will face 66th Street, so if you have a concern and you live in the neighborhood about noise emitting into your neighborhood, please attend this. We need the input, and we like citizen involvement. So, and then one other thing I'd like to mention, I don't know if you looked at your taxes. Mine went down 13%, so I want to thank the rest of you for voting out that budget that lowered my taxes 13%.
Yeah,
So.
mine was lower as well. Thank you, thank you. Well, you know, and I just want to follow up too with the noise issue that we've had, and I know that the concerns have actually been in Minneapolis and Edina more than they have been in Richfield, because our Richfield residents seem to be more informed, and I think I want to first of all thank staff for doing that, and Tom for acting as our liaison and passing that information along. Again, the RNF system is actually a safer system than what they're using, and it is a reality that will come to the airport whether it was voted down now or not. It will come. That is the wave of the future, and I was on the phone before this meeting tonight to Mayor Hovland of Edina, and I have a call into R.T. Ryback. We will be meeting about this as an effort to smooth over things as well and have a discussion about how to move forward in a succinct way. Jim Hovland did apologize for some of the concerns. He didn't realize that we had a very different view of things, and it was nice that he made the phone call and the gesture, and we'll sit down and figure this out, as the MAC also wants to meet with us too, to talk about that. And also to talk about the communication strategies that might help avert some of these things in the future. So I'm hopeful, and we're going to be working on that, and I'll certainly inform staff, and I would like a staff member, maybe Pam, with the history that you have, to be at that meeting, as well as Councilmember Fitzhenry, you've been our liaison, so I want to make sure that we're well prepped and prepared when we go into those conversations. So, just so you know, everybody's on the docket. I just want to thank the citizens for being so understanding. It's tough. We thought we had something that was not very controversial, and I still don't think it's very controversial. I think there's just a lot of misinformation and a lack of information that was sent out to certain parties, and that's why this happened. Because I think it's good for everybody to go down. And I live 4 blocks off the crosstown, so I'm all for it. So just wanted to say that. Moving on, I'd ask council approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? The agenda. Consent calendar, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The consent calendar, for those in the audience and those at home, contains several separate items which are acted upon by the city council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and the recommended actions will also have been approved, and no further action on those items is necessary. Tonight, we have 4 items on the consent calendar. Item A is consideration of approval of a first reading of an ordinance amending Richfield City Code Appendix D fee schedule and scheduling a public hearing and second reading for December 11th, 2012. Item B is consideration of approval of an amendment to site plan agreement for 6355 Penn Avenue between the City of Richfield and Sprint Spectrum Realty Company, LP, successor in interest to Sprint Spectrum LP regarding a location of an antenna system. Item C is consideration of approval of continuing the agreement with the City of Bloomington for the provision of public health services for the City of Richfield for 2013. And finally, item D, consideration of approval of the 2013 contract with the City of Bloomington using federal grant funds to provide services in the area of public health emergency preparedness, bioterrorism, and development of a response system. And that concludes tonight's consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent calendar is approved. And we go to item 6, which is consideration of an ordinance amendment that will clarify the way in which building height is defined and measured. The city staff continually monitor the notes of the zoning codes that may require review. The proposed change does not constitute a policy change, but rather clarification of an existing rule. Building height is currently defined as follows: the virtual distance to the highest point of the roof for flat roofs, to the deck line for mansard roofs, and to the average height between eaves and the ridge for gable, hip, and gabriel roofs, as measured from the average elevation of the lot adjoining the front building line. Now, let's see if you can figure that one out.
A little too legal for me.
Yeah, it has come to staff's attention that the definition does not specify which eave or eaves shall be used to calculate the heights of gables. I know what a gable is. Hip and the gabriel roof heights. Homes with multiple peaks at varying heights could potentially exceed this intended 25-foot height limit. I could certainly see that. In the following example, calculations using eave number 2 would allow for a significant taller structure. So we have a very nice graphic on the page that shows us where the ridge, the eave, and eave 1 and 2 are. The proposed amendment clarifies that eave 1 shall be used to calculate building's height. So do you want to give that some further explanation for the audience who may be listening?
Please.
Thank you.
Us too, I guess.
You're not a civil engineer. You can't-
Madam Mayor, if I might just join in. For those listening at home, a gambrel roof,
Yep.
that is typically what you would see on a barn. A
Yep.
barn has a gambrel roof for folks at home.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. This really is a housekeeping item.
Yes.
For the 3 types of roofs that were mentioned, I believe it was gambrel, hip, and mansard
Yep.
roofs. It does talk about the height of a structure can't exceed X feet, and it measures that height as the difference between the ridge and the eave of the roof. Well, a homeowner had come into us a couple of months ago with a home plan for a very, very, very tall house, a design similar to this. And he said, well, my average height is only, at this point, about 35 feet, because this is the average between the ridge of the roof and the eaves.
Yeah.
And we said, no, it really doesn't work that way. The intention is for it to be between the ridge of the roof and the eave for that roof, which would make the average somewhere in here.
Yes.
And so there was some reason for confusion there, and we want to take this opportunity to clear it up and just specify that it is the average between the ridge and the eave for that upper roof, or the ridge, or the eave associated with that ridge. So
Can you explain it in more detail? If we were to put some measurements on the house, let's say can you go back to the picture on the screen here? There we go. the bottom of the roof line on the my far right-hand side, you had it there. Let's say that bottom of that roof line to the ground is, I don't know, 20 feet, pick a number, or 30 feet, I
Of
don't,
this one or this?
between eave one and the ground,
Okay.
all right? Let's say that's 30 feet or something. And maybe I'm getting these all wrong. And if the eave of the lower level of the roof to the top of the roof is, I don't know, 20 feet, what is this 25-foot height limit referring to? What is it talking about? If eave one to the ridge is 25 feet,
Yeah, and I'm not sure what I'd have to go look at the zoning code to see what the height is. But just for argument's sake,
yeah,
let's just say that this is 15 feet, this is 25 feet, and this is 35 feet.
okay.
And we said that the average allowed is 29 feet. That's not the case, but just for this. So then you would say, well, the average would be between the ridge or the peak and the first eave. So in this case, the average would be 30 feet. And that would exceed, if we had a 29-foot requirement, that would exceed that. Somebody could say, no, it's the average between the ridge and the lowest eave, which in this case would be,
Yeah.
what's that, 20 feet?
Mm-hmm.
Or, sorry, 25 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would say, well, the 25 feet average is below the this made-up 29-foot requirement. So it's just it's how we're doing the math and at what point we're doing the math from. Does that make any sense?
Not much to me, but that's okay.
So is there a maximum height the house can be?
Yeah.
Yes.
A total maximum? I mean, could I build a 100-foot house?
No, but you can build a pretty tall one. I can't remember. I read that one time. I was kind of surprised. Oh, it's going to look up the code.
Yeah, the maximum height in our R is 25 feet. Again, that 25 feet is that average number. So if you had a flat roof, it would be pretty crystal clear. 25 feet is 25 feet. If you have a roof with pitch to it, that's where this comes in.
So if you have a steep pitch like an A-frame, you're really going to be in trouble.
Well, no.
If
Not
you're tall.
necessarily. Because if you have an A-frame house, then this would be 0 at the base.
We can't see that.
Slide over a little
Slide
more.
it over.
There, okay, that's
The base
0.
would be 0.
Yep.
And let's say this was 40 feet. The average height
20.
It'd be 20.
would be 20 feet, and so that would
Okay.
qualify. So that's why this issue of where the eaves are, in this case, the eave is at 0. I'm not sure that we've ever seen an A-frame house in Richfield, at least one with the eaves down to the ground. But that gives you the idea. And
Okay.
again, that's why these heights become important for the various eaves. And on any house, Richfield was a lot different, obviously, 20, 30, 40 years ago when we were predominantly Cape Cods and Ramblers. Those homes typically have one common eave around the whole house. With houses now, there's so many different roof lines, each with their own ridge and eaves. This is just meant to clarify which ridge and which eaves we're talking about.
Okay. More questions? Thank you. Is
Thanks.
that graphic in the new ordinance too?
That is not, but we
I just
develop
see it's in there.
handouts, so we
Oh,
will put
you
this
do.
graphic in the
Okay.
handouts.
All right, so it's understandable. I think that
When it
a
goes
lot of
online?
those working in other
Yeah, when it goes online, I wonder if they could attach it to the online version, because we got
could.
more people online looking, and that would
Yeah.
be helpful.
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay.
I'll check
You know,
into
those
that.
builders who build homes in other areas where they've had these for a long time probably don't have a problem understanding this at all.
And, you know, to be honest, this has been around for a long time, and
Yeah.
it came up when somebody was trying to skirt the rules,
Okay,
you know.
imagine that. Okay. This time, I'll ask for approval of an ordinance amending subsection 507.07 subdivision 53 related to the definition of building height.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this wasn't, we don't have a very long agenda, so there were no assignments. City managers report.
Madam Mayor, members of the city council, I do not have a report this evening.
Bless you.
Well, it's not
Thank you.
much of a meeting. Claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, seeing no further business, I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. It's a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
One of our shortest.
I'd say so.
You can have cake now.
Where are they serving?